Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Who dares awaken me from my slumber? Rob G from Spaced Out Radio. Once again, you have found your way into the Fox Den for another epic episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio. Thank you for allowing me to feast and replenish lost nutrients and power sources. And now that Rob G has released my shackles and set me free, it is once again time to read a chapter from the Midnight Society book as we take a walk into the darkness.
Cracks, shadows morph, fangs pierce, bleeds reborn, fury rise, health ignites, burdens raise, endless nights.
When I looked into the eyes of this Dogman, there was nothing. This thing was an apex predator.
Milk road, cracks, shadows morph, fangs pierce, beast reborn, fury rise, health ignites, burdens raise, endless nights.
My creatures of the night, yes, welcome back to another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on StarFox Radio, the home and gathering, as well as the stomping ground of the Midnight Society. Once again, we have Rob G from Spaced Out Radio popping in to hang out with us. Yes, he's a busy guy and he's always holding it down out there on the West Coast, but he is here tonight. How you been, man?
Been doing good, Star Fox. How you been, man?
Not too bad myself. Just been working and collaborating with a ton of people and just trying to plug away on my YouTube thread and just, editing. That's about it, man. What about you?
Man, just getting ready for this spooky season, man. We're here. It's here. And, like I said, it's a time of the year that I like. I really do. I get into all the ghosts and goblins and in this case, cryptids of this time of year. Even though it's a year-round thing, but just October for some reason kind of, amplifies it for me.
It's good stuff, my friend. And actually, my late mother, rest in peace, she was the one that was super into Halloween and Nightmare Before Christmas and all kinds of stuff like that. So I can definitely give her a big kudos on probably getting me, intrigued and artistic about that topic. Because when we were younger, there was always these Halloween costume parties, okay? And I'm talking about, I was like 11, but my mom would always bust out these gnarly, super cool costumes, man. Like whether it was Super Mario with a raccoon tail, and she made me a gnarly werewolf suit. I always finished either at the top or pretty close to the top of the competitions, which was always fun. And also I remember on Halloween when she would do the front yard all up, and also we would drive around to see, there's this one person that was maybe about a half hour away. They had some really cool setups that they did for Halloween, Christmas, etc. But I remember one time I was sitting there in the werewolf suit that she made for me, and just to troll people, that I'd be sitting there and the little kids and the parents would think I was just a part of an ornament, and they'd go up to like touch it or something. I'd be like, oh, and they would like literally flip out. And so, I mean, I had this in me, I guess, since, like I said, I was 11. So no, I totally feel you on that stuff, man.
Yeah. And when I was growing up, this was back in the day, back when the streets were full of kids on Halloween. It's just not that way nowadays. but I'm talking about hundreds of kids out there with all sorts of different costumes on. One of my big things was I was really into Dracula. Well, not really Dracula, but just being a vampire, and then also werewolves, vampires and werewolves. So that can kind of tie into the conversation today because I wanted to know if Dogman has any relation to the whole werewolf mythology, and then also how far back are we talking as far as like the first utterings of Dogman, or is it like Sasquatch where it's deep in the like Native American folklore and goes back thousands of years, or I don't know if you have any information on that.
Great question. Of course I do. And I will answer the latter half of your question first. But then before I answer the second part, I would definitely love for you to just give yourself a plug, explain to the audience, what you do inside, outside of spaced out radio, etc. And the first references, man, we're talking about like 290 BC, the cynocephali. We're also talking about Egyptians with Anubis. We're also talking about the not Native American culture, but the culture of the country of India referring to these. We're also talking about the Aztec, and I mean now we're also talking about indigenous cultures here. So, yeah, man,
Wow.
it's way before any reference to Sasquatch.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. Okay, great. And I'm here to, as a student, actually, because like I said last time we talked, I've been into different cryptids, and I'm moving into different ones. Dogman, I'm still at the beginning stages of learning the history on it, and I've pretty much come to grips with Sasquatch. I've talked to enough people to know that there's likely something to that. I can tell by the way people react. You can tell when someone's being genuine. And so I'm kind of already there. And now I'm kind of getting into Dogman at this point. I would like to, be pointed to situations where these are like super authentic sightings. Like, yeah, this is definitely one. So I guess we may go over some of that here tonight. But also to plug myself real quick, get that out the way. My name is Mr. Rob G. It's MisterRobgee. You can catch me over at Spaced Out Radio on the weekend, Saturday and Sundays from 8 p.m. Pacific until 11 p.m. And then you can catch me on my channel, which is youtube.com/ at Mr. Rob G, channel called The Social Dig. We touch a lot of pro humanity subjects there, conversations that move the needle. And yeah, that's where you can catch me at Wednesdays, Fridays, and then Saturdays we do a late night call-in show.
Great stuff right there, man. And to the audience, I will have Rob's links up like I always do. So everyone can go over there and check out what he's up to. Puts out great content. And I do encourage everyone to head up over there for sure. Now to answer the question, meaning the werewolf and Dogman, yeah, 100% there. And I don't like to deal in hundreds, but definitely 100% of a difference. I, in the beginning, was 50-50 on the Dogman. And now that I've done about a year, maybe a year and a half worth of really hardcore journalism and talking to people and diving into history and working with my science team, I definitely believe Dogmen exist. I don't know definitively what type of animal that it is that they're seeing, but I know someone and people are seeing something that resembles, like I said, the Cynocephali all the way back in 290 BC. Now, werewolves, I was about 95 to 5% that I had no belief in that whatsoever. There wasn't really any historical references. I felt like the Rougarou and such was just Dogman people were seeing because the Cynocephali wore human clothing just like we do. So just because somebody saw something that looks like a canine now in the middle of the forest under a full moon wearing clothing, why does it mean it has to have been human at a point in time? Because predators go out on full moons as well. And like I stated, they used to wear clothing. So yeah, that was my thoughts first. But now that I've been speaking with Dennis Carroll, who's part of our science team and deals a ton with the occult, and Yeah, I obviously have no interest or desire to read these books, but I was watching History Channel and other people speak of them. There's all these supposed occult and cursed books that Heinrich Himmler, which you probably know who he is, we're not really supposed to use certain words, so I'm going to call him the Dirty Stash, or AKA the White Devil. You probably should know who I'm referring to, World War II, Heinrich Himmler. Well, they were all into the occult, okay? That was a big thing that his number two was. And Heinrich Himmler was doing all kinds of crazy experimentations with the occult. So, most likely, all these books that are either cursed or supposedly outlawed, they included really messed up stuff up in there. We're talking about supposedly being able to speak with angels, which again, I'm spiritual, not religious. So I don't know really anything about this besides what I was reading and researching. But again, to anyone out there, man, that thinks Hollywood's depiction of angels is real, I encourage you to take a look at it, even though they're supposed to be the good guys, I guess, in the biblical aspects. They're terrifying as heck as well. I mean,
Oh yeah,
yeah, they don't look anything like, hey, come down with these nice wings and a beautiful woman or something. No, dude, they got like these crazy
right.
eyes and wings, man. They are pretty gnarly too. But apparently in these books, you can speak to them. You can speak to Mr. Crispy himself. You can speak to Lilith. You can speak to some other lesser demons than them, I guess. You can apparently manifest things that look like the Jersey Devil, other shadowy winged entities, apparently vampires, dogmen. And I mean, there was a castle called Castle Hauska that was in Europe that literally is built in the middle of nowhere that Heinrich Himmler and all them also had an interest in, that is supposedly over the pit of hell or something like that, and is built to keep something in, not out. There's no food there, there's no running water, and everything is pointed inwards. So there's no way to really protect themselves from the outside. So once I was really introduced to all of that, it brought me down to probably like a 60-40 now. I mean, maybe 55-45, that I still not sold on it, but that's a big increase from the 5% that I was at, where I really was like, nah, dude, there's no credence to that whatsoever, because there has to be something that had caused those books supposedly to be cursed. I mean, a lot of people were unable to translate them, and ones that supposedly did all of a sudden had like bad luck. And I don't know, it's bizarre for sure. And there's at least 20 of these books that are supposedly cursed, man, or involve speaking to these entities and such. So, kind of like a skinwalker. I mean, even in the Nordic legends as well, same thing, man. You got to do something really screwed up. You either got to, unalive somebody extremely close to you, skin pets, throw them in cauldron. Man, we're talking about messed up stuff, but that's how you
Right.
become a skinwalker, which he or she that walks on all fours in the Navajo legends and indigenous cultures. The Nordic cultures, same thing. That's how you become that. Again, the Nordic cultures also have gods that look like werewolves, like Fenrir and such, which is super interesting. And now with the quote unquote werewolf and lycanthropy, again, in those books, you got to do really messed up stuff to be able to take on the shape or summon something like this. But apparently, the more you become this thing, the less humanity every time you have left. And there's apparently, according to Dennis and others, just different variants. Some that look more similar to like the Wolfman from some of the older movies. Some that look more, like traditional werewolves. Some that look like underworld and stuff, which is really interesting, man.
Yeah, yeah. And you were talking about Dennis Carroll. Shout out to Dennis Carroll. I've interviewed him a couple times. He's a good guy. And most recently, I believe he was just on our channel on Monday of this week. So he's a good friend of the channel. Shout out to Dennis Carroll. And I would like to, before, because I know we're going to get into some stories here tonight that we're going to react to as well. But let's get this out the way real quick, because being that Dogman, even though, as you mentioned earlier, Dogman has been, around for thousands of years. As far as pop culture goes, it's just becoming currently to be, take its own stance as far as in the forefront of pop culture. And, I would like to know, for the skeptics out there, what type of evidence do we have that you can kind of point to say, yeah, Dogman is this is it definitely shows the Dogman is here, just to kind of get that out the way.
Great question. And I'm going to make you laugh right here. To everyone out there, say goodnight to the bad guy. It's the last time you're going to see a bad guy like this. And the reason I say it is because people want to mark me as the bad guy because I don't buy into all the hoaxes and I don't present hoaxes. I don't believe in that type of stuff. And I've been able to debunk people and I stay away from them. And apparently, because of that, myself, the North American Dogman Project, our science team, we're the bad guys and the bad girls because we don't buy into the crap and we put out real information. I'm fine with that, man. If someone wants to say I'm the bad guy because of that, that's fine by me because all I'm doing is actually providing the truth. And at the end of the day, I think that's a big thing, man. I think that's why people don't really fully buy into it the scientifically is because everyone's putting out all these gnarly encounters and man, I don't publicly smash anybody, but and again, I don't like to deal in hundreds, but I promise you that the majority of these Hollywood encounters you've heard about, they are hoaxes and they are not real, and the individuals that are telling the narrative are extremely questionable, and also there's a one side perspective, meaning there's nobody else you can speak to except for that one person. And sure, people want to always be like, hey, well, you can't just discredit that as somebody's word. But sure, you can, because it doesn't matter where you come from in life. It doesn't matter your ethnicity. It doesn't matter the country. It doesn't matter your line of employment, man. People lie, okay, at the end of the day. All
Yeah.
right. It doesn't matter what you do. You could be making a sandwich. You could be the chief of the fire department. Doesn't matter. Either or can lie, man. And not one is immune or susceptible to hoaxing and such. So I think that's a big problem is that the things we do have on file, man, that we run by our science team are like the footprints that, okay, why are baboon footprints in North America? Why are hyena like footprints that look very similar to bear, but unless someone specializes in that, they wouldn't notice that? What are those up here for? Why do we have these ones that look picture like your human foot kind of, but have the claw on the back and also, the claws on the front, which would
Mm.
solidify something that could be quadrupedal and bipedal at points in time. I mean, you have the Amphicenoidae and the Amphicenoidoids, which were canine bear dogs. They split off and they have no relation to any modern day canines or bears, etc. But from their bone structure, they are very capable of being quadrupedal and bipedal. And the way track patterns we have that we verified, that's how these supposed dogmen do, quadrupedal, bipedal. And also, like I've used this numerous times with my pet squirrel. Her feet are huge, dude. She has no problem standing on her feet, doing little twirls, walking for a little bit, etc. So people, when they put down, like the lighters and things, hey man, that's cool that you're at least giving us perspective. But if someone's putting down a lighter for a supposed dogman footprint, nah, dude, that's just a canine footprint. And to fully answer your question, we don't really buy into the exact images too much, meaning it's easy to hoax. We have some older ones, and we have some up there that are 50-50 because, again, you can't really prove or fully disprove. So that's it. That's why they're 50-50, meaning we can't get any past any further than we are. But I do know that this live werewolf Halloween music video I was working on, there was a segment where my little brother, before we even added eye shine, dude, poked his head out from behind the tree. We didn't notice till after in post. We're doing some editing. He's like, dude, look at this, man. I'm like, yo, your eyes are already shining. That's a gnarly shot. And that's like raw, nothing to edit right there. And I was like, man, see, that's how I could legit just make a hoax so easy right now. And I'd spoken about this before about how all you got to do is take the stamp off a trail cam, meaning I have Real Cabela trail cam and others. So you go in there, you remove the back, make it transparent. And then I took the image of him, put it over top of it, blended it a little bit, and I started to sell it in a video until I was like, hoax. And then I broke it down as to how it was a hoax. And that's why we don't really buy into images, especially because that's something I excel in, and so do others with, videography and working with visuals, is you can really pick apart when something's fake. But now when you come to the tracks and the vocalizations and such, well, that's a little bit more of a harder fetch hoax. Sure, you can hoax tracks, but same thing with vocalizations. Yet we have people that are like, wait a second, those vocalization ranges don't sound like anything that should be in New England and such. So those are the things I really try to present to people. And at the end of the day, in a perfect world, man, everyone would be telling the truth and you could take everyone at face value. But I've used this example numerous times. Man, you and I can go to a prison, dude, where you have people up in there where and they have been put in there for doing horrendous things, okay? And you and I could look these people straight in the eye and ask them, how many times did you do something? And they're going to tell you every time, I didn't do anything. I'm innocent. Yet there's a whole stack of people that they destroyed their lives, etc. So again, what makes anyone above that? I don't feel like I'd be a good journalist, man, just to believe everything that's coming my way, man. Sure, I'll field calls and I'll listen, but at the end of the day, if someone can't really supply me with evidence, how am I supposed to ever really get past the 50-50 on it?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad you actually said what you said there because I think it's very important. I think we kind of touched this last time we talked, but the being transparent, and then just the fact that you were able to sit up and show something, and present it as, hey, let me see what you think about it, and then say no, hoax. To be able to do that and show people what a hoax looks like, I think is so helpful in this field. And the other thing you talked about, you're right. I mean, in this field, taking people for face value at face value is something that you would like to do in a perfect world. You're absolutely right. You have some really nice people, right, that speak on the subject, all different parts of the phenomena, and we'll talk about Dogman as well. And really over embellish, or for whatever reason they do it, and it's sad because in this field, it's all about bringing the truth. So you can't really spend time with those who embellish, and that means you literally have to choose who you're going to deal with, and whether this person is a person you're going to be able to be friends with in this field. Now, outside of this field, talking about baseball or football or just some other things, it may be fine. But when we're talking about uncovering the truth, getting to the root of what this is, then unfortunately those friendships aren't able to materialize, and you kind of have to sift those people out. And there's some really cool people that unfortunately fall on that side of it, and it's something that I've had to come to terms with in this field as we go. Because I'm like, man, it's a nice person, but you can clearly tell that this person is not telling the truth. It is just sad, man. So I'm glad that you look at it like that and you approach it like that. I usually choose to have conversations with people who I feel are being truthful and who have a motive or intent to kind of further the conversation rather than just tell stories. That's one of my big things. Receipts is a big thing for me too. If you have them, I think they should be presented. And some people will say, well, I just want to experience this cryptid by myself. This is like my own personal experience, and I don't feel that I have to share this. But then I say, okay, if you're a person that has multiple experiences, if you're sitting here telling me that you've had 10 different experiences with this cryptid and it's something that's reoccurring on a normal basis, then you're probably being targeted to bring this information to other people. So to hold it to yourself, I think is selfish in those aspects. And anything within this field that we're in should be about spreading the word and moving the needle.
Preach, man. And that's literally very similar to what I said about I don't care who it is. If somebody is caught hoaxing, it in the grand scheme doesn't make you a bad person, meaning you could do a ton of things for charities, you could be a great family woman or family man, etc. But when it comes to what I'm trying to uncover with the missing people and these strange animal sightings, your opinion no longer is relevant, and I won't ever share a topic about that. I'll never ask your opinion about it again, and I'll never even indulge in a conversation about that. But it doesn't have to mean, like you said, you're a bad person, but it means you're no longer credible in what we're doing. And
Yes.
I spoke about this the other night too, man. I've met some awesome people, dude. Some of my really good friends, and I can't even shout them all out because there's so many I'm gonna miss names. But everyone that's part of the Midnight Society, from Jessica Jones to Barbara Hartman to Jody Cook, Ryan Tremblay, dude, the list goes on. All right. I love all those people, man. Great people I've met. Awesome. Some of my best friends, dude. But I've also, when it comes to interviewing witnesses and working with people, I've met some of the most slimy individuals in life that have very questionable backgrounds and all kinds of stuff that are telling encounters. So, I mean, one individual apparently had been caught at a point in time running some sort of phone scam. And okay, does that mean that they didn't see what they said they saw? Not necessarily, but they
Right.
can't show me anything to verify what it is you saw. And you were running a phone scam. So, I mean, you're a scumbag pretty much, dude, right? I mean, you're trying to hustle, obviously, most likely elderly people. So if you're doing that, then why would you not be trying to
Yeah.
hustle somebody else in something such as the cryptid field?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And that's why I always ask people. And see, it's being a host and an interviewer. Some people, if you don't ask the tough questions or don't present, ask what the intent or motive is, then some people think you're just throwing softballs and that you personally don't have a real intent on bringing the truth. And that's just my integrity just won't allow me to sit back and play into someone else's conversation. There's questions that I have that I would like to have an answer to. And if you're genuinely in this for the right reasons and your intent is there to move the narrative on this, then you should be fine with answering those questions. And that's why I try to stay away from those that are questionable, because I've had those instances where I've asked someone that question or just questions in general, and it would seem like they don't have much to say. They can't really elaborate on what it is that they do, or they just saw what they think is a Dogman, and it was cool, it was creepy, and then that's the end of it. I'm like, okay, well, what is your end goal for this, right? Because you call yourself a researcher at this point. From the story you tell, you've had multiple experiences. Okay, so where does this go for you? Like, are we just going to have story time every time we meet up, or are we going to talk about, ways that you are using information that you captured to kind of answer other questions? Like, what are we doing here, right? And I think it's very important that those questions get asked whenever possible, because if the genuine intent is there to move the needle, it'll be evident, in the responses that you get during the conversation. So I'm all in for it. I've never seen Dogman myself. I've never, but I am at a point where I'm just so open to all these different things being possible. And there's things that I would like to know. I don't know if I want to necessarily meet one of these guys, but if I can talk to enough people to get enough perspective to be able to at least say, yeah, this is very plausible, then I think that's pretty much all I need from it.
Again, preach, my friend. And that's pretty much the bottom line is, if someone's going to have, say, an encounter, there, well, should be, in theory, some sort of evidence to back that up, supporting if it was falling on the ground outside or if you hit it with your car. And, like, for example, before we let you go, these two encounters right here, this first one, man, there is numerous people that now see this, on top of a renowned photographer, but also you have a whole classroom and a teacher as well. So California, 1900s, Yosemite National Park, renowned photographer Ansel Adams is hidden in his tent snapping images of the area when he sees a pack of jet black, human like wolf creatures running across a field in front of him and off into the forest. Confused, he's unable to figure out what it is he just saw. Around the same time, Adams also reported one of the mysterious creatures had entered a single room schoolhouse and began terrorizing all the students and their teacher. After stacking up the desks and climbing to the top to where they believed it was safe, the teacher locked himself in a closet as the students and him watched this animal begin to rip the room apart looking for everyone's lunch. After finding what apparently it wanted, the creature ran off into the forest.
Yeah, Ansel Adams. I'm a believer in if it's coming from Ansel Adams. Ansel Adams has spent so much time, way back in the day, not really filming, but just painting photographs of all the different features within Yosemite National Park. So, so Ansel Adams has spent a lot of time in the woods there. So, if it comes from Ansel Adams, I'm one to believe that just off the bat because it's definitely someone who spent a lot of his life out there in Yosemite, and there's been reports of all sorts of weird things, Bigfoot included, Bigfoot, Dogman, and just numerous other weird things that happen out there. Are you familiar with Yosemite?
Yeah, and I actually said that wrong, so I'm glad you said that correct. Yeah, our tracker actually lives up in that area, and yeah, it's a very bizarre, densely populated, forested area.
Yes.
So yeah, it's creepy stuff, man.
Yes. Yeah, I drove through there one time coming back from Las Vegas. Just never been there, and it is so amazingly what you would think as far as the landscape for some of these things that we're talking about. Like I said, densely forested, just a beautiful place. I would recommend anyone who has a chance to go there, definitely go there. But then we have to ask ourselves, right? And I think we may have talked about this before. We need to get some signs up then as well to kind of warn up because there's a lot of bears up there, for sure, mountain
Hmm.
lions that they warn you about. But these other things, I think people need to be warned about as well, or at least just know that there's a possibility that you may be walking into something there. I actually did a video for someone. They sent me some photographs of, in this case, it was Sasquatch footprints that they had taken a few years back in the woods somewhere here in California, but it was so strange because there they were right in front of my face, these huge prints, and it was like they were walking, it's a set like 6 or 7 prints walking through this pebbled area, and I'm like, dude, there are things out there, like there are really things out there, and it's just something I had to bring up because they were in the woods as well. And yeah, if you see evidence of this stuff that people get, it'll blow your mind.
Again, preach, man. And that's what's really good about that first one is, like I said, you have a lot of people who witnessed it. But then this other one right here, again, it's a one-sided perspective, and it's also from somebody that's younger. So we have 1953, American River, Sacramento. A 12-year-old girl is sitting on the couch reading late one evening when she hears scratching on the window. Turning around and looking up, the girl sees what she says was a face of a monstrous wolf staring in at her with burning red eyes. Leaping off the couch, the girl ran to her parents' room. Upon returning, obviously, the creature was gone, but massive canine tracks were found outside the window where the animal was standing.
That's awesome too, and it's weird you brought that up, Sacramento, because I'm from Sacramento, and I'm on used to be on American River all the time. I've traveled it from where it comes into Sacramento all the way back up into the mountains, because it comes off the Sierra Mountains where it's heavily forested, and then comes down into some still some sort of desolate sort of area where there's low population, and then finally ends in the city of Sacramento. So as you talk about that, I'm imagining that whole landscape, and there's a bike trail that runs probably 50 miles along that river from the city of Sacramento back up into the mountains. And I've ridden that on a bike before, and I've been out there and I've seen weird stuff. I mean, I'm talking about before you even get to the mountains, you're running into packs of deer and all sorts of stuff that is right there. So I can see that. I can definitely see that being a realism there. I've seen coyotes, all sorts of stuff riding along that American River. So, yeah, I can buy into that for sure.
Yeah, some straight up gnarly stuff. And well, for a last one right there, I guess that was a pretty good pick because I had no idea. I was just filtering through my California file and happened to personally, I take a little bit more credence into some of the older encounters just because I feel like it was more taboo for people to speak about it back then. And also, hoaxing maybe wasn't even really necessarily a thing when you all had to go and pick your cornfield or harvest your vegetables and just do all these things all the time. I don't know, man, if hoaxing would even be in someone's energy source. So it's interesting because now when you fast forward just to more modern day times, as we just spoke about, there's always issues and reasons for hoaxing. So I tried to definitely look at the historical aspects a bunch, but I appreciate you sitting down with us tonight again, man, and coming in with the heat as always, dude. So it's interesting to try to figure out for sure what is occurring, but also, again, there's just more questions with every sort of hole we dig, man. So it's good stuff, bro.
Yeah, definitely. It's always lovely when we get together and talk about this. And what I would do as well for people out there, you may look in a little further into, especially the well, I guess both places, really. Yosemite, I'm sure if you look into the history of Yosemite, you may find a lot of different encounters, even outside of Ansel Adams, that have occurred there, and as well with the Sacramento and the American River, the sightings there, because that actually, Sacramento is the gold rush town, it's capital of California, and leading right up into the mountains. We're talking about the miners were there for many, many, many years, and I'm sure, and they were there 24/7. So I'm sure they had some stories as well about encounters. So that may be a rabbit hole for everyone to jump down right there, and you may come out with some pretty good or pretty compelling stories and even potentially evidence looking further into both of those locations.
Thank you for everyone who once again stopped by tonight for this episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on Star Fox Radio. If you do enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share it. Feed the algorithm, and I will catch you on the next one.